Welcome to r/malicious compliance, where we share stories of people conforming to the letter but not the spirit of a request. And today we have 3 great stories, so subscribe, hit the like button, and let's begin. The first story: manager tries to control my choice of words. I simply switched to a different word with the exact same meaning. The second story: manager ordered me to speak when I go to the bathroom. She regretted it. The third story: client wanted to order the delivery of the part, but he did not know how much it would cost him. The first story is: bullying manager tries to dictate my speech. I never realized before that I had my own example of malicious compliance. If it makes at least one person smile, then I'll take that as a win. Years ago, I worked in a very small branch of a national chain of food stores. I'd just been transferred from the still small but slightly bigger store, which was a 2-minute walk away from my new workplace in the center of the small town I lived in. Yes, we had 2 branches of the same store in a village of fewer than 5,000 people. Would you believe we used to have 3 until the smallest one closed down entirely? Due to the close proximity of the 2 stores, and the fact we all shared an employer, the staff of both stores tended to all be familiar with each other. I had known the manager for a few years before my transfer took place, and we had always gotten along famously. For the first few months, everything went swimmingly as I co-managed the new bakery, which had been built in the back during a recent refit. As the months wore on, however, the manager's true personality came out, as she started bullying first the colleague who had transferred with me to co-manage the bakery, then myself once she realized my coworker wouldn't show any sign of being affected by the bullying. Unfortunately, I was not as good at pretending to be unaffected, and so she fixated on making my life a living hell for the better part of a year. It got to the point where I was dreading having to ever see her, so I started looking for jobs, and as luck would have it, scored a salary position, earning double what I currently was. As soon as I handed in my notice, my manager seemed to make it her life's mission to drive me to a nervous breakdown in the few weeks she had left to do so. At this point, I finally realized that she only had power if I allowed her to, so I stopped giving her the reaction she wanted whenever she tried to make unreasonable requests, criticize my work style, etc. Instead, if she said anything to try and antagonize me, I would just smile and say okay, and go and do whatever I was meant to do. As you can imagine, this got right under her skin to see she'd lost her power over me. After a couple of weeks of this, she came to the bakery one day to tell me there were multiple tasks I needed to do, the vast majority of which were pointless and not mandated by the company guidelines, i.e. sweep the patch of pavement in front of the delivery door, sort the boxes in the freezer alphabetically, etc. After each request, I would smile and say okay. After she had finished assigning me my pointless tasks, she had one more request. In the most condescending tone possible, "Oh, and don't just stand there and say okay when I speak to you. It's really patronizing." I paused for a second, wanting to show that I wasn't bothered by her criticism. After a few moments, I smiled at her and went, "All right." She gave me the fakest smile ever, then turned and walked away, visibly shaking with rage that I hadn't given in to her tactics. I later found that in the days after I left, she badmouthed me to the rest of the staff in the store. To be fair, I knew full well she was doing this before I'd even left, because the other staff would tell me, and even said to one, "I wonder how long it'll be before he comes and begs me for his job back." Another time, one of the staff members even told me she'd said she didn't understand why I hadn't kept in touch after leaving. Okay. I've seen her one time since I left, and it was for all of 5 seconds when I went in to quickly grab a couple of items one morning, before heading off to my new job about a month in. About 6 months later, I heard from a former colleague that she'd been transferred against her will to another story in the next town over. What a horrible, disgusting person that manager was. I really don't get how people can behave this way. But you're a very strong spirit, because you were able to stand up to that awful manager. And you did the right thing when you didn't answer her with rudeness. It made her very angry, haha. Managers like that should be watched and fined by the boss, because they ruin the team and create a hostile atmosphere. I'm surprised she expected you to communicate. Come on, girl. You want to communicate with me after all the SH you did to me? Are you crazy? Oh, I wish you would have let her know that you left for double pay. You avoided her bullying and also improved your life. She won't be thrilled after that. Mwahaha! Evil laughter. Probably after you left that job, you could tell her everything you think of her and not be afraid of punishment, because she's no longer your manager. I wonder what she would say if she knew the employees thought she was a bee. Karma will catch up with her. The next story is: insist I announce every time I have to go to the toilet. No problem. So this was a few years ago after just receiving a promotion at my previous company and working under a new supervisor, who we shall from here on call Karen. This is one of many alterations between us, but the only one that contains MC from my side. This was a desk job position, which also had customers calling to schedule services or repairs on their warehouse machinery. Out of proactiveness, I would discreetly tell the person that sat next to me if I were going to the loo, in case my phone rang so that they could take a message. This had worked fine for a few months with no issues until one day. Karen usually had varying moods, and this day was a bad mood day. Nonetheless, I continued doing my stuff, keep my head down and whatnot. I let my neighbor know I'm headed to the bathroom and make my way. Out of curiosity, I used to time my loo breaks, and I was never away from my desk for longer than 3 minutes. I walked back into the office and had not even sat down yet when this exchange happened. Karen shouting, "Where the hell have you been?" Me already peeved at her tone of voice. I went to the toilet, why? Karen, you should tell people when you're not going to be at your desk. I'm tired of picking up your calls. Call this person and see what they want. Hands me a note. Me noticing my neighbor was not at her desk. I had told neighbor where I was going. Karen, well, you have to tell me too. I need to know where you are if I'm going to be answering your calls. Me already hatching my MC plan with a huge smile on my face. Okay, no problem. I will do so in the future. It was this day that I decided that I should really start looking after my health and make sure to get in my 8 glasses of water a day. So the next day I arrived with my 500 milliliter water bottle, knowing I would need to finish the bottle 4 times before the workday ends. I was going to the bathroom about hourly, and each time I would stand up, walk to her table, wait if she was on a call, then politely tell her I'm going to the toilet now with the biggest smile on my face, and then go. After about a few weeks of this, she eventually cracked. Karen very loudly, "Why do you keep telling me when you need to go to the toilet? I don't want to know your internal schedule," as if she had forgotten her outbursts a few weeks prior. Me, "You said I had to tell you if you were going to the bathroom a few weeks ago." Karen remembering the incident. "Well, I didn't mean to tell me each time, as long as someone knows where you are if your phone rings." Me smiling still. "Sure, I'll rather do that then." Cue the new MC plan, just to make sure this issue never gets brought up again. From now on, each time I had to use the bathroom, I would announce it in the office as I stand up. I'm going to the loo, in case my phone rings. My colleagues all smirked the first time I did this, and they all started following my lead and announcing loudly whenever they went to the bathroom. This continued for the following 3 years that I still worked there. New hires thought it was just protocol, and also did it without question. This announcement did work in everyone's favor though, because en route to the bathroom was a different department's office that we would often have to hand paperwork to, so whoever was going to the bathroom would usually ask if there was anything needed to drop off at the department on the way. And before I get people accusing me of possibly being a slacker and that being the reason the supervisor was on me the whole time, I was one of the hardest working employees at that company and got 4 promotions in the 5 years I worked there. Karen was a B to everyone. I was amused by your story, especially the part where you said about the other guys. New hires thought this was just protocol and also did it without question. It's like a new flash mob. The new people just go with the flow, clueless as to why it seems to be protocol. Haha, as you pointed out, it was good for work. Can I call you a genius? But your boss was wrong when she scolded you for no reason. You have the freedom to go to the bathroom and not have to ask anyone's permission. You don't have to warn anyone about it. Should have called her on evenings and nights too. Would have been wonderful MC. She didn't specify during work, did she? Your decision to play by her rules was funny. I hope she realized her mistake. Thank you for sharing. Sounds like an Office episode, which is real life. The last story is, you want the product shipped next day air no matter the cost? Roger that. I work in wholesale distribution of building materials. I don't sell to the public. I only sell to established accounts. This is both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, most of my customers are great people. We get along very well, occasionally even meet up outside of work with some I've known 15 plus years. There's a minority that can be annoying. Some only use me as a last resort, which is okay. I understand I'm not everyone's first call, but they treat me like dirt because they're usually frustrated they can't get said part from their preferred channels. Most of the time, they've tried 3 to 5 other sources. If they don't have X item, chances are slim I'll have pallets of it lying around anyway. One such character that only uses me as a last resort is Mike. Mike is routinely in a bad mood because he's been told, "Sorry, we don't have that," at least a few times before calling me. He often gets irate when I don't have whatever uncommon part he needs ASAP sitting on the shelf waiting for him. One day Mike calls and this is how it goes. "Hello, Snake here, how can I help?" "Snake, I need to get 4 replacement trim pieces for this part. The effing contractor ordered it in the wrong finish. The contractor ordered it in the standard finish. This guy needs it in an obscure finish, of course, and I need 4 of them yesterday. Please tell me you have them on the shelf." While I'm looking up the availability, he starts going on about how this is one of the most expensive projects he's worked on, and they have buckets of money, blah blah blah. At this point, I miraculously find the part in stock in my company and I tell him, it's probably a good thing they have buckets of money, because this part's gonna cost you, especially if you need 4 of them tomorrow. I do have these available, but they'll have to ship from the other side of the country. Snake, I need these parts. Please just send them over for next day air delivery. I don't care. Mike, let me at least get you a freight estimate. Shipping has gotten very expensive during the pandemic, and I don't like shipping something without you knowing a ballpark estimate. Snake, I told you I don't care what it costs. Get the parts on the way. Okay, Mike, I'll get them shipped today, sure. Let me let you go because it's 3 p.m., and I need to get on the phone with that warehouse so they can force the order to print right away. So I ordered the parts just as Mike asked. These parts were 4 pieces. Ground shipping would have ran 4 to 5 days, and probably cost $25 each. Next day air, $386 each. They weighed a decent amount, which makes anything going by air cost multitudes more. Shipping ended up costing almost as much as the product. I didn't hear from Mike for a few days. The product arrived as requested. He finished the job and got the contractor out of hot water. He didn't have time to wait on his bill to arrive in the mail, so he called me for the freight cost. Snake, how much was the freight for that stuff last week? Let me pull it up. Looks like it ran $1,544, plus the cost of production at $2,230. You're effing with me, right? No, sir. Overnight air shipping from across the country is very expensive. Can show you the bill from UPS if you'd like. I told the contractor it would probably run $400. Jesus Christ, Snake. I could have waited a day or two if I knew it was that much. Blah, blah, blah. I had to cut him off mid-rant. Mike, I specifically asked you if you wanted an estimate. You declined. I don't know what else you could reasonably expect me to do. He pretty much mumbled some more choice words and got off the phone. Interestingly enough, he did start calling me a bit more after that, but he makes sure to note the pricing a bit more closely. Edit. I do have the luxury of being an upper-level employee, and all the customers, including Mike, know I've been in the industry for 17 plus years, so they can't pull SH on me like they might be able to try on newbies. Sometimes I'll even have a newer employee pass a problem account to me when I smell shenanigans from the cubicle over. It's right that you raise the price, because some clients think that you don't have to pay money for urgency. But it makes the job harder, so it should be paid. I used to work in sales and support, and I noticed something. Most of the customers who called me were great, and I would be nice to everyone, even a few rude and grumpy customers. But after many years in business, I stopped tolerating rude customers and became confident in advocating for myself and company policy. I noticed in almost every case I did that those same customers became some of the most loyal, long-term, and even friendly customers later on. I can't figure out exactly how this affected them and what changed their minds, that I earned their respect by not humiliating them or somehow embarrassing their bad behavior by turning it into loyalty. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button.